All right, ready to dive deep. Today, it's Robert Greene and the Art of Seduction.
Ooh, interesting.
We've got pieces of the book itself
Okay.
and even a transcript of him talking with Mayim Bialik on YouTube.
Wow.
You might think, oh, seduction, that's all romance and dating. But Greene says it's way bigger.
Yeah, so much more to it.
He's talking influence, like how to get people to do what you want in any part of life.
Exactly. It's like psychology, figuring out how persuasion really works.
Persuasion, huh?
Greene says these power dynamics are always happening around us, whether we see them or not.
So, like, we're all in this game, even if we don't know the rules.
Exactly.
That's kind of creepy when you think about it.
Well, Greene even says the whole realm of power, which includes seduction, it's amoral.
Amoral, what's that mean?
Like, it's not about good or bad. It just is.
Okay.
Like gravity, it's a force. You can use it to build or destroy.
I see. So this seduction stuff, it's a tool, not inherently good or evil.
You got it.
But knowing these tactics, wouldn't that make you more likely to manipulate people?
Greene talks about this with Mayim Bialik. He says knowledge is power.
Right.
And knowing how these things work, it's self-defense.
Self-defense.
Like, if you know how a con artist tricks people,
yeah.
you're less likely to fall for it yourself.
Oh, I get it.
He even talks about how he got hurt in the past in his work because he was naive,
Oh, wow.
not knowing these power dynamics.
So it's not about becoming some master manipulator. It's about not getting played.
Exactly.
Protect yourself.
Greene uses all these cool examples from history to show his points.
Okay. Like what?
Well, think about Cleopatra. She seduced two of the most powerful men of her time.
Julius Caesar. Right. And Mark Antony.
Yep. And she wasn't just beautiful.
Yeah, she was smart. Had to be to pull that off.
Greene calls her a siren.
Siren, like the mythical creatures that lure sailors to their deaths with their songs.
Kind of, but it's more than just looks.
Okay.
It's about being dangerous, mysterious, playing into people's fantasies.
Ooh, that's getting a little dark.
Makes you wonder, how many sirens are out there today, influencing things without us even realizing?
Yeah, good point.
It's not just in romance, it's in politics, business, everywhere.
Okay, I'm starting to see how big this really is.
It's a whole different way of looking at the world.
You mentioned those historical figures, and I remember Greene talked about John F. Kennedy
Oh, yeah.
being like the ideal lover or something. I didn't quite get that one.
It's not about JFK's love life. It's how he used this archetype to, like, captivate the whole country.
The whole country.
Think about that Camelot image around his presidency.
Camelot, like King Arthur and all that.
Yeah, he tapped into this longing for a simpler time. Heroism, chivalry.
So he was giving people what they felt was missing.
Exactly. Fulfilling a fantasy, even if it was subconscious.
Interesting.
The ideal lover embodies what the target desires, gives them a vision of what they lack.
And for America back then, that was Camelot, huh?
In a way, yeah, Kennedy offered adventure, purpose.
Like with the space race, right? And the Peace
Yeah.
Corps.
Exactly. It went beyond normal politics. It was emotional.
Wow, never thought of it like that.
Makes you wonder if all successful leaders do this to some extent, tap into those desires.
Huh, maybe so.
Greene also talks about using weakness to your advantage, which sounds kind of crazy.
Weakness in seduction. I thought it was all about confidence.
Right, you'd think so.
But Greene says there's power in appearing vulnerable.
It disarms people, makes them feel needed, protective.
Like the damsel in distress.
It's more subtle than that,
Okay.
like revealing a flaw, admitting a mistake, but in a way that makes you seem more human.
I guess people like that. Someone who's not perfect.
They trust them more, want to help them.
So how would this work in, like, a job setting?
It's about being relatable, not coming across as arrogant or too perfect.
I see.
People are drawn to genuineness and humility.
Makes sense.
It's fascinating how this stuff applies to so many situations.
Yeah, it's like you're learning people's secret code.
It's about motivation, what makes people tick.
And then using that to, well, kind of guide them where you want.
But it's a slippery slope, right?
Yeah.
Could easily become manipulation.
That's what I'm thinking. Where's the ethical line?
That's why understanding these tactics is so important.
Okay.
It's about recognizing when they're being USD on you.
So you don't get played.
Right. And then you can choose how to respond.
So knowledge is power, but also responsibility.
Exactly. And Greene goes even deeper. He outlines 18 different types of people
18 types.
who are especially susceptible to certain kinds of seduction.
Whoa. Okay. I got to hear about this. Give me some examples.
Well, there's the new prude.
New prude. What's that?
They seem super conservative, moralistic,
Okay.
but secretly they want to break the rules.
Ah. So they're drawn to danger, rebellion.
Exactly. Like the forbidden fruit is always sweeter.
Right, right. What other types are there?
There's the pampered royal.
Pampered royal sounds fancy.
They grew up with everything. Privilege, security.
But they're bored.
Exactly. They crave excitement, adventure.
So someone offering them that, they'd be easily seduced.
Right on. It's like everyone has a weakness, a desire that can be exploited.
Kind of scary, huh?
It's about understanding that we all have needs, vulnerabilities.
And those make us targets in a way?
It's like a lock and key. The right kind of seduction can unlock those desires.
Wow, this is getting deep.
It's about human psychology, the core of how we interact.
Not just romance, it's everything.
Exactly. Greene wants us to see these power dynamics. They're always at play.
Whether we know it or not.
Right. And now you're starting to see them.
Yeah, thanks to you.
Happy to help. It's a journey, this understanding of seduction.
A journey into the dark side of human nature.
Maybe, but knowledge is the best weapon.
Right. And now we're a little more armed than we were before.
Exactly.
It's wild to think these patterns, these archetypes, they're throughout history.
Yeah, like they're built into us somehow.
And they still play out in our own lives.
Right. Human nature doesn't really change that much.
Speaking of patterns, didn't Greene talk about theatricality being important for seduction?
Oh, absolutely. He's big on creating a memorable experience.
Like a show.
Kind of. Something that stands out, makes an impact.
Like not just dinner and a movie.
Exactly. Think back to Cleopatra.
Okay.
She didn't just meet Caesar. She staged this whole elaborate arrival.
I vaguely remember that from history class.
She presented herself as a goddess, emerging from a golden barge, all dramatic.
Wow, talk about making an entrance.
It was like a performance designed to totally captivate him.
So she was using theatrics to seduce him.
Totally. It's about using details to create an effect.
Okay, like what kind of details?
Gifts, clothing, gestures, appealing to all the senses.
Not just logic and reason.
Right. It's more primal. You're weaving a spell, creating a heightened reality.
So the target gets swept up in it all.
Exactly. It's not just what you say. It's the whole package, the experience you create.
Interesting.
And timing is crucial, too. Greene talks about delaying the climax.
Delaying it, like to build anticipation.
Yeah, to heighten the desire, make the reward even sweeter.
I can see how that would work, but isn't there a risk of losing the person's interest if you wait too long?
For sure. It's a balancing act.
Okay.
Greene says it's about reading the signals, knowing when to push, when to pull back.
Like a dance. 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Exactly. Keep the target off balance just enough.
To keep them wanting more.
Right. You got to understand their psychology. Act at the perfect moment.
When they're most vulnerable.
Yeah, when their willpower is weak, their vanity is peaked, that's when you strike.
Strike while the iron's hot.
But Greene also warns about what happens after the seduction.
Aftermath, like what happens once you've won.
Right. What happens when the thrill fades?
Yeah, I guess things can get boring, routine.
He talks about the dangers of boredom, disenchantment, even exploitation.
So even if you succeed, it's not always a happy ending.
It's tricky. That's why the art of seduction is so important.
Is there a way to make it last, that initial spark?
Greene gives some strategies.
Okay, like what?
One is strategic absence.
Absence, like staying away.
Even after you've achieved your goal, keep some distance. Maintain the mystery.
So even after you've won them over, you can't just get complacent.
Right. You got to prevent things from getting stale, keep the spark alive.
I see. A little space can go a long way.
He also suggests introducing some controlled doses of pain and conflict.
Pain and conflict, that sounds kind of harsh.
Not in a mean way, of course.
Okay.
It's strategic, like creating challenges, maybe a touch of jealousy.
To keep things interesting.
Yeah, prevent the other person from taking you for granted.
I guess a little drama can be exciting.
As long as it's done carefully, ultimately it's about novelty, surprise.
To keep the seduction going.
Keep him guessing, always evolving, never fully revealing all your cards.
So it's an ongoing performance, a constant dance.
Great way to put it. Giving and taking, revealing and concealing.
This is way more complex than I thought.
But remember, seduction is a tool. It can be used for good or bad.
Right, like we were talking about before, ethics matter.
Just because you know the techniques doesn't mean you should manipulate people. It's about awareness, making conscious choices.
About how you use this power.
Exactly. Greene's main point is we're all susceptible to seduction in different ways.
And he gave us those 18 types to help us understand that, right? We talked about the new prude and the pampered royal.
Yeah, just 2 examples.
What are some of the others? I'm curious.
Well, there's the rake.
The rake? Okay, what's their deal?
They thrive on conquest. They're all about the chase.
This sounds exhausting.
They get bored easily, always need a new challenge.
What about someone more, I don't know, grounded?
Greene also has the rescuer.
The rescuer, like a superhero.
Kind of. They're drawn to helping others
People pleasers.
in a way, and they're easily seduced by those who seem lost, vulnerable.
So playing the victim can be a tactic.
Exactly. It all comes back to psychology, figuring out the target's needs and desires.
This is like mind reading almost.
Greene doesn't give you a magic formula, but he gives you a framework for understanding different types of people.
Their motivations, their weaknesses.
The key is to observe, pay attention to the little cues, the signals.
And adjust your approach based on what you see.
Exactly. It's not a rigid playbook. It's about being adaptable.
Responding to the situation.
That's the real art of seduction, using your understanding of human psychology.
To create something compelling.
Irresistible, something that draws people in.
You know, as we're talking, I keep thinking about language.
Oh, yeah, huge part of it.
Greene talks about the demonic power of words.
He has a whole chapter on that.
How language creates emotions, a different sense of reality.
Think about great speakers, politicians, advertisers.
Yeah, they use words to persuade, to influence.
It's not just what they say, it's how they say it.
So how do you use language to seduce someone? Is it all flattery and sweet talk?
It's deeper than that. Greene says you got to speak to their emotions.
Not just their logic.
Right. Use loaded phrases, vague promises, evocative imagery.
To create mystery, allure.
Exactly. It's the tone of voice, the rhythm, the pauses.
It's like music almost.
He even suggests using elevated language, a bit over the top.
To enchant them.
To create a sense of wonder, transport them.
Like you're weaving a spell with your words.
And he says, avoid direct arguments.
Really?
It's better to insinuate, suggest, leave things open-ended.
So the target fills in the blanks with their own fantasies.
Exactly. It's about suggestion, planting seeds of desire.
That grow into full-blown infatuation.
Yeah, you got it. But this all sounds pretty manipulative, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
That's why understanding these techniques is crucial.
So you don't become the manipulator.
Or so you recognize it when it's happening to you.
And then you have a choice.
Exactly. You reclaim your power.
In the face of these subtle influences.
Greene wants us to be more conscious, intentional.
In how we interact with each other.
In all parts of life.
It's like he's given us X-ray vision.
I know, right?
To see these power games happening all around us.
Yeah, it's a little scary.
It makes you think about all those times you were probably influenced and had no idea.
But hey, now you do know.
So what now? Do we all become master seducers or what?
I don't think that's the point.
Okay, so what is?
I think it's more about being observant, watching how people act.
Like, what are they doing? What are they saying? How are they saying it?
Exactly. Pay attention to their language, their body language.
Even gifts, favors, all that.
It's all part of it.
So are we all detectives now? Analyzing every interaction?
Not exactly. It's not always about hidden motives.
Okay.
Sometimes people use these tactics on purpose.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, it's unconscious, like instinct.
Interesting.
The point is, just be aware it's happening.
Whether they mean to or not.
Right. Like, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
That's true.
But that's only the first step.
What's next?
Now, you use that knowledge.
Okay, how?
Make better decisions, set boundaries, don't let people walk all over you.
So you don't get seduced or manipulated.
Yeah, right? You can also choose to use these techniques yourself.
To get what we want.
If you want, but ethically, of course.
So it's not about rejecting seduction, it's about understanding it.
And using it wisely.
Powerfully, but responsibly.
Exactly. Greene's big point is, it's a force, like anything else.
It can be good or bad.
Depends how you use it.
I like that. A lot to think about.
There's so much more to explore on this topic, too.
Yeah, Greene's just one perspective.
He gives us a starting point.
And now we can go from there.
Keep learning, keep observing.
That's what this is all about.
The world's full of seduction, whether we see it or not.
It's like a hidden language.
And now you know a few words.
That's a great way to put it.
It's been fun.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone.
Until next time.
Keep those eyes open. You never know what you'll find.